really want to welcome all of you to this evening. My name is Jeanette and I am your moderator for this evening. I'm a resident of Ward 6, so I am here to hold space and help you all have a really cool experience. And I'll be going to my all candidates meeting next week for my ward. So anyway, thank you for being here. To see citizen engagement and interest is phenomenal. I do want to also acknowledge that we have a timekeeper here tonight who is Lindsay. We have a number of volunteers in the room, and if you could our volunteers just stand up and just sort of acknowledge that, so sorry, your name at the back, because I did not need to figure out, there we go, so we've got a volunteer back here, Luis is here, yep, okay. So thank you to volunteers for your help in making this possible. To start, we'd like to acknowledge, or begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather and the many Indigenous people of this region. The three long-standing Indigenous groups of this region are the Anishinaabeg, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape-Pewuk. I'd also like to recognize the three First Nations communities neighboring the City of London: the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We recognize that we, as the Urban League, members of the community, have a role to play in relationship building and reconciliation, and that reconciliation has to be more than, to be about more than talk. It has to be based on action. Miigwech, Yako, and Anishik. The Urban League of London is hosting all candidates meetings with partner organizations from across London, including Innova, Climate Action London, Inclusive Economy London and Region, London Cycle Link, London Environmental Network, London Intercommunity Health Centre, London School of Racialized Leaders, London Middlesex Local Immigration Partnership, Pillar Nonprofit Network, and Young London. Even that those organizations can come together to create experiences like this is a wonderful signal of what our community is about. We are hosting 14 meetings throughout London before the municipal election scheduled on October 24th. Please circle that on your calendars and vote. A volunteer-run committee was struck by the Urban League of London and has been meeting since January to organize these meetings. The committee is composed of individuals from various organizations across the city and set the goal of encouraging participation in local government and the political process. The committee has invited all candidates to participate. You'll see we have 6 of the 9 candidates tonight from Ward 1. Along with the partner organizations, the committee also created a list of important questions to ask the candidates. We request that everyone be respectful to the candidates and your fellow audience members. We acknowledge that you may have differences of opinions, different areas that you are passionate about, but please respect all perspectives in the space tonight. We would also like to encourage those of you in our audience who use social media to tag us in your posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can use @Urban League of London or @ULLDN. And the hashtag LDN votes if you want to share anything from this evening. We would especially like to thank the London Public Library and the Crouch Branch for hosting us this evening. And I do want to signal, just so you're aware, if you need to make a quick exit, if there's some sort of emergency, there is an exit here, plus the main doors are there. And washrooms are just outside this door to the left-hand side. We also want to thank the London Community Foundation for sponsoring the All Candidates meetings and remind our audience of their 2020 release of their Vital Signs report, Be the Change. Vital Signs is a biannual check-in on how we are faring on issues that are significant to well-being and quality of life in our community. The latest report focuses on making systemic changes by coming together to participate in collective action. The report is available at bethechange.ca if you want to find out more. So, this is where we get into the rules of engagement for today in the process. And so I want to say to you as I share this, I share it both around a sense of rigor for how we hold time and keep moving, but also deep respect to make sure that all of our candidates have an opportunity to share. So this is the way that we're going to do things. I have drawn the candidates' names from a hat to determine the speaking order, and I'll share that in a moment. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to do preliminary introductory remarks, and so that they can speak to you about whatever's on their heart and what they want to prioritize for you to know. After that, each candidate will have an opportunity to draw a question. That candidate will be able to answer for the question first, and then because we have a larger group, 3 other candidates will have the opportunity to do rebuttal. The rebuttal is 1 minute, and because of the number of candidates, we're going to do 1 minute for the person who's the first person to answer. Okay, so this way we'll be able to keep flow. I have my wonderful assistant, Luis, here, who will help me keep track to make sure that everybody is getting a good flow and turn at the answers. Once we have drawn each candidate has drawn a question, we will be making sure that the audience who has submitted questions on registration, those questions will then be shared and candidates will be invited to answer those questions. And the way that I'll hold that is, especially if there's questions that have not come up, topics that not have been raised, we will ask the candidates to do that. If a topic has already been covered, I may move to create space in the room for you to ask questions as well, because as the night unfolds, you might go, ooh, I haven't heard anybody speak about this. I have a very clear request. If you're asking a question from the audience, ask a question. What happens is sometimes people share their passion in a long story, so it's get down to the clarity of what's the question so the candidates are clear on what they're asking. So, I think that's it. Timekeeping. So here's how it's going to work. Lindsay, who is our timekeeper, has 3 cards. A green card will be shown to you when you're invited to start speaking. A yellow card will indicate, and there's a yellow card and a red card. So the yellow card will be shared with you at 30 seconds left to speak. The red card will indicate that your time is up. And I am going to ask you very clearly to respect the time. If you use more time, others get less, and we really want it to be equitable for all tonight. If people are going over after the red card, I will rigorously and respectfully ask you to pause. And I'm going to ask you to respect that. So just from the candidates, I want you to say, yep, are you in? Okay, thank you. All of the candidates were provided with the questions in advance, so they've had time to prepare for a number of questions. And so we wanted to make sure that they have an opportunity to share all that they've prepared. Before we begin, I'd also like to point out some of the candidates who are running for school board trustee. And we have representatives here tonight from both the Thames Valley Public School Board, and we have Christine Morgan, who's back here. And I lost my little list. Is there anybody else from the public school board I just want to say? Oh, sorry, your name? Sherry Polhill, thank you, good. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. And I know that a number of candidates have put information over on the table. School board trustees will not be speaking tonight, but this is a chance to either pick up information and/or at the end you can mingle and chat with them. I also want to acknowledge that we have from the Catholic School Board, Odelia Guvia. Oh, did I say it right? That's me. Close, there we go. So welcome, thank you for being here. Yes. Okay, super. All right, so before we begin with the specific questions, I'm going to share with you the order that our candidates will be speaking. And so our first up is Hadley Mcallister. So if you can wave just so people know who you are. Then we will have Michael Van Holst will be second. Thank you. Then we will have Jeanette Cameron. There we go. Then we will have Ryan Cadden. There you go. And then it will be Oberon Gooden. Okay. And final in this will be Ken Fisher. There you go. Okay, so that's the order. So they will speak in their opening remarks, and then we will draw the questions in that order as well. So let's start off with Hadley Mcallister, 2 minutes.
Hello? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out. My name is Hadley Mcallister, and I'm running to be your next Ward 1 councillor. Thank you for coming out tonight and being part of the political process. The East End is unfortunately often neglected by City Council, and I want to see that change. People are having a hard time finding an affordable place to live, the roads are in rough shape, and residents are being ignored. East Enders are proud people and deserve solid representation. I will be a strong advocate for Ward 1 residents. I'm going to fight for affordable housing, prioritizing East End infrastructure, and protecting our green spaces. I have 14 years of political experience at the local, provincial, and federal level. I have 7 years of experience working in the financial sector and managing multi-million-dollar budgets and making data-driven business decisions. My family also ran a business in London for 20 years, and I also have my own small business. I'm here to listen and respond to your concerns. Let's work together and build a better London for everyone. On October 24th, vote for Hadley Mcallister. Thank you.
Thank you, Hadley. We'll go to Michael Van Holst.
Thank you. There we go. Yes. So I'm Michael Van Holst. I've been your city councillor for 2 terms now. If you'd like to know, my big priorities this term are going to be the housing and homelessness crisis, crime, and more investment for the East End. When I was 10, there wasn't any video game, so I entertained myself by playing chess alone, and I would think about all the possible moves and how they would work out in the future. And so when 50 years later, people would say to me, Mike, thanks for being the voice of reason on Councillor. I don't think that's surprising because I use the same process when we're trying to make decisions at City Hall. Now, it's not always popular to come up with alternate ideas, but it's made a big difference. And as an example, I just point out the community improvement plan for our own area here. So we can look and see that across the street, we've got a grocery store. Hamilton Road is no longer a food desert. And we see that the buildings look nice because they've taken advantage of the grants to fix up the facades. We've got a flex street beside the library and nice pedestrian amenities because of the streetscape master plan. So it says in our vision that all our plans are supposed to be completed by 2027, so that leaves us only 1 term to finish that. So I hope that you'll support me again because I have these and a number of other irons in the fire that I'm working very hard to make happen for.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was seeing. No, sorry. I saw the red in the back. I'm so sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. So yes, so I hope you support me again. I've got many irons in the fire, and I'm happy to see those through. If you would give me your backing for another term.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jeanette Cameron.
Hi everyone, I am Jeanette Cameron. I am a wife and proud mother of 2 young daughters. I'm an East End small business owner who has achieved a high school diploma. I'm not considered an educated, book-smart woman, and I do not have a fancy diploma or certificate. I don't have a political background, and I may portray ignorance and lack of knowledge in some areas of government and policies. This does not make me an underqualified, incapable, or an unskilled individual. I have traits followed with actions. They mimic strength, resilience, empathy, and the will to win. I have a strong backbone and will stand up for what's right and what needs to be done. I don't back down from challenging, stressful, and difficult situations. I utilize and channel my energy to face and help repair the pain, the trauma, and destruction bestowed upon our struggling community members. I feed, clothe, support, and wipe the tears all over London. I fundraise so that our children have food. I sit with our street workers and damaged women. I watch cars and cabs take them away to sell their soul for drugs and addiction. I tuck in the homeless with their soaking wet cardboard and blankets on a minus 30-degree night. I have used Narcan on 2 different occasions. I have talked to women out of suicide over Facebook Messenger while on the phone with police for a wellness check. I have helped families living in our dirty motels. I do protest at our correctional facility to cause change of a disgusting, out-of-control, broken hole that lacks respect, monitoring, proper rehabilitation, support, and resources. I do all of these things because I care. I vow to put the positive attributes and effects back into our entire community. Together, we will build. Thank you.
Ryan Cadden.
Hi everybody, my name is Ryan Cadden. I actually live not far from here on Tennyson with my 2-year-old daughter and my common-law spouse. I have no history in politics, but I've always had an interest in politics, especially at the municipal level. Just like many Ward 1 residents, I see the potential that our ward has, but have not been happy with the direction that it's been going in. I promise to fight for our ward residents and restore the job of City Council back to its roots, representing the real needs and wants of the residents of the ward at City Council. For too long, our police have been understaffed with no resources to keep our neighborhoods safe, which leads to criminals exploiting that to breaking into people's cars, garages, and homes, or commit hit and runs. For too long, the number of mental health cases have been growing, leading to higher homelessness and more crime. All this as the cost of living has increased for each and every one of us in this building. We live in a ward full of low to mid-income and elderly residents. Yet during a global pandemic, we had a representative who actively persuaded residents to not get vaccinated, and a council who refused to push and punish him when the time came. It's another example of career politicians protecting career politicians. I have no political alliance, which means I'm not in anybody's back pocket, but also that nobody is in mine. We need somebody who is genuinely here for the people and genuinely here for the ward, and who will hold City Hall accountable. I'm hoping that after tonight, you will see that I am that person. Thank you.
Oberon Gooden.
Hello, my name is Oberon Gooden. I was born and raised in London, Ontario. I am a personal support worker, so I work in healthcare. I'm also a union leader for SIEU London. And although I have no political experience, like a lot of people up here, I've always had a huge interest in politics. Civic, national, I admit mostly American because it's more volatile, but in general, I follow politics with a passion. I decided to run for Ward 1 because my wife and I just bought a house in Ward 1 about 1.5 years ago. We have 2 small children, and I love the neighborhood. I love the amount of small businesses. I love that we get to decide where we're going to eat every night at a different takeout. At the same time, I think London has a lot of problems that we could improve on. Some of my platforms are, like everyone, I think we should have affordable housing. How we go about that is I think we could subsidize housing for people depending on their income and encourage developers to build tract housing that people can afford. Another thing that's very important to me is police transparency. I think the police, for the most part, do a great job, but I think in 2022, it's high time that we mandate body cameras and not just take the police's word for things when accidents happen or there's a high-profile shooting. I'd like to see more tax incentives for small businesses, and I'd like to see childcare become affordable. In general, I'd like to see London just be a more inclusive, smoother running city with a booming economy. Thank you very much.
Ken Fisher.
Good evening. My name is Ken Fisher. I'm a long-time Ward 1 resident. I'm also an East End business owner. I'm here tonight to try to persuade you to vote for me. My platforms are, like my other candidates here, are homelessness, housing, affordable housing for all, and transportation and commuting here in the East End. We all know about what happened on Hamilton Road this past weekend, and it's a tragedy. We need to do something in the East End as well as other parts of London so the commuting is safer. London's always been known as a car city, but the pandemic changed a lot of that, and more people are on their bikes today, and we need to have safer roads. The infrastructure needs to be fixed, and that's one of the things that I support and would work really hard for you. I also believe that the different wards have different things, and Ward 1 is an older ward, but has a long tradition, and I think we need to support that tradition. So I'm up here tonight to tell you that I will work for the ward, I'll work for you, I'll listen to your suggestions, I'll take them to council, I'll work with council. Being a business person, I'm an accountant, and so financial is very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you all. So we are now going to go to the questions that you received in advance. We will draw 6 questions over the course of this section. Each one of you will be able to answer first. To reiterate, when you answer first, it's an answer 1 minute. So the first person who's going to draw will be Hadley. And then the 3 people that will be doing a rebuttal will be Jeanette, Ryan, and Oberon. Okay, so just so you're aware. So Hadley. This question is under the topic of belonging. This is the first municipal election since the June 6th Islamophobic murder of the Asphalt family. What is City's Council role in combating Islamophobia, and how do you plan on participating as a City Councillor? Hadley, 1 minute.
I just want to start off by saying what happened was an absolute tragedy, and no one in our city should ever feel like they're unwelcome and targeted.
Excuse me, could you speak up,
Oh,
please?
sorry, I said, yeah. Sorry about that. I was just saying, I think what happened was an absolute tragedy, and no one in our city should ever feel unwelcome and targeted in that way. I think one of the things that we've seen that is very powerful is our London Family Act, which was actually a provincial legislation, but I think it will do a lot in terms of addressing racism, in terms of education and law enforcement, and I think that that's something as a city council and as Londoners we should continue to support. I think the police also have a role to play in terms of cracking down on hate crime, and as citizens we all have to be vigilant and look after our neighbors to make sure everyone feels welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jeanette.
So my question is when do the police find the time to educate the community and step more in against this? Do you believe that it should be taught at a younger stage in life? Maybe in public schools, bringing more schools and the communities together. Instead of these different wards, let's hold more citywide events. Let's not have public schools of just difference. Let's bring everyone together at a young age and push for acceptance, self-worth, stop some of the bullying at that young age. Do you agree?
So I just want to say this is not a debate.
Oh, I don't need to respond. Oh.
Yeah, so I think we're just gonna, like, it's just sort of, it's like, it's a good inquiry, but I think it's, yeah, if we can
Well,
hold
I hope
it
he
as that.
agrees.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, Ryan.
I think everybody in the city has a role to play in combating Islamophobia. I don't think it's just what's the government's role. I think it's what's everybody's role. And I like to think of a philosopher named T.M. Scanlon who once wrote a book called What We Owe Each Other, which goes into the idea of contractualism and morality and how we treat each other. So the idea of contractualism is that individuals are motivated by self-regard and respect for each other. And I feel that these are values as a community we need to instill in one another. I think a crackdown on racially motivated incidents all around needs to be considered. That means City Hall pushing higher level of governments on increased punishment to those convicted of racially motivated crimes, and better training program for our police officers to handle incidents related to race. And those are both extremely paramount in continuing forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Oberon?
Yeah, this event was highly personal to me. I was driving by that area of the city, seeing a client when this happened, and I think that this is even bigger than Islamophobia. I think London has a problem with racism, and this is especially personal to me because my wife is from the Philippines. We have biracial children, so it's really important to me that London is inclusive and kind to each other as possible. I think. As far as the event that happened 2 years ago, I think that definitely we should celebrate more Islamic holidays, teach kids at a young age about the religion, and just see more multiculturalism in general in London. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we get to draw another question. Michael, you get to draw. And our draw takes us to another question on belonging. There was a 50% rise in reported racially motivated hate crimes in London and Middlesex County, Ontario between 2020 and 2021. What tangible actions do you think need to happen to change this trend? Just to give our rebuttal folks notice, Michael will speak first, 1 minute, then Ken, Hadley, Jeanette.
Kind of the same question.
Kind of the way it goes, yeah.
Thank you. So 2020 and 2021, we also saw a big rise in domestic violence, and so these are the kinds of things that happened during the pandemic. What I'd like to point out are some of the things that Council has been working on. And this is London for Everyone, an action plan to disrupt Islamophobia. Now, this was passed on February 8th, 2022. And we see here something that's been, it came to us this week. And we're going to pass it on Tuesday at the next Council meeting. This is the Anti-Racism and Anti-Oppression Framework. And there's going to be training that goes out to all our staff on this. So we see that these kinds of actions are being taken to change the tone and the direction of our city corporation. I would also like to stop because the card was red.
Thank you. Thank you for respecting that. Ken, yeah, if you can pick it up.
Okay, I want to say first and foremost, racially motivated hate crimes are just not acceptable in London or anywhere in the world. This has increased over the last several years, and I believe COVID, as Michael said, COVID is a big reason. It changed our world forever. And we need to understand why this is happening, and we need to promote tolerance for all members of our community and make people feel welcome in our wonderful city. We need to work with all levels of government and this just isn't a London problem. We need to invest in public safety measures and support new investments for the London Police Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Hadley?
Yeah, this is kind of building off, I guess, the last question as well. I would say, I mean, a big part for me is I see a disturbing trend, unfortunately, in politics with polarization. We have some groups that feel unwelcome and people's views are targeting certain groups, and I really do think that that's unacceptable. And something that Jeanette said before, which I think speaks volumes to what we can do as a community, is educating at a local level. And what we can do is exposure to these groups and funding our community centers and getting people out and actually interacting with these people who feel very unwelcome and the hate crimes are being targeted at them. And I think there's a lot we can do as citizens of London to help people in the community who feel targeted. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette.
So what can I say? There is hate, there is attacks on everybody in the city. It's how we come above that. It is how we come together instead of dividing everybody. Again, our children are feeling this at a very young age. They are learning from all of us. If you attack another person, your children are watching that. If you treat somebody and judge somebody based on culture, what they believe in, their opinions, your children are watching that. How? I'm sorry?
Or what gender they are.
What gender they are, what they look like, what they believe in. Everything is so scrutinized these days, and I find it very disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jeanette, you're going to draw. I will say if we get another belonging question, we will move to another category, so thank you. Kind of try and bring diversity of questions here. All right, if you can draw. Thank you. Okay, so this is in the category of governance. The recently re-elected Progressive Conservative provincial government has already implemented some changes that greatly impact municipalities. How will you work with the provincial government to ensure policies that are in the best interest of Londoners? So Jeanette, you're going to answer first, and the rebuttals, folks, will be that Michael, Ryan, then Oberon.
I had to get a government question. So like I stated before, I am not a political person. I see people for people and what they do and what they bring into our society as an asset. The political party, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care what party you reside in, we need your help. As a person and as a member of our community that we reside in. I will call upon anybody that's willing to put their back behind this community. I don't care if you're federal government, if you're progressive, if you're NDP. I channel my energy into people and not the drama behind government. You have to use just the people. You have to build a network, you have to build a brand, use the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, 1 minute, rebuttal.
Thank you. So it's important to understand how we do work with the provincial government because they call the shots and they have the power over municipalities. So some of the things that we do are, one, we work through the AMO, the Association of Municipalities Ontario, and we have them as groups of municipalities advocate for us. We go to the delegations that are arranged by the province. So they arrange for cities to be able to talk to the ministers, and we do that. Sometimes the ministers will come and ask for public input. I did that when Vic Fideli, the Minister of Finance, was around, and I was advocating for the film industry. And the last thing we do is go to events where we're likely to see the MPPs and the MPs, because that's our chance to interact with them and really have the discussions about our shared constituency.
Thank you so much. Ryan.
I think we need to work with the Conservative provincial government, but we also need to push them to do more to help us battle homelessness and mental health in our city, in our province as a whole. With the rise of inflation, interest rates, and the general cost of living, we need help from the government to ensure people are not being displaced from their homes for illegal reasons, and that people have safe and affordable places to live. Thanks.
Thank you. Oberon.
Well, as someone who works in healthcare, I definitely am affected by decisions that are made at the federal and provincial level. We've seen that there's been a tremendous short staffing right now in all levels of healthcare, our hospitals, our support workers, our clinics. We're having a tough time retaining employees, and that is something that on a municipal level, we need to keep in constant contact with our federal, with our MPs and our MPPs. Myself, I've talked to Peter Fragascato several times about things that have come to mind, and Lindsay Matheson also. And I think if I'm working for the city, that would be something that would be a big priority, is keeping in touch with Queen's Park and Parliament.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan, your draw.
There you go.
Thank you. This question is a moving around the city question. What are some of the ways that we can encourage active transportation and public transit in London, and how much of a priority is this issue for you? So we will have Ryan speak first, and then followed by Hadley, Ken, and Michael.
This is a very important issue, as I believe a huge part of reaching our climate goal is building a transit system and an active transportation system that is accessible and effective. Not only that, but it helps those who do not have access to a vehicle navigate our city. I would love to see the city push to bring tax rebates for those who use public transit, or alternative ways to get to work, and really incentivize residents to find alternative modes of transportation. Also, bringing in more bike lanes and more walking and bike paths to make our city a more accessible place to those who want to choose another method of transportation is important.
Thank you. Hadley.
I would like to see the bike lanes expanded, but also improved upon. One of the things I've been hearing talking to residents in Ward 1, and this is in other wards too, I've heard, it's just that people feel unsafe. I think earlier someone had mentioned about Hamilton Road, and we want everyone, whether they're a biker or pedestrian, driving a car, to feel safe on the roads. And I think we still have some work to do in that regard. I'm also a proponent of improving our green spaces, and I do think that there's a place to meld the two. I think obviously we have to build the bike lanes on our roads, but I think that there's also an opportunity to protect those green spaces and build bike lanes to encourage the active transportation in the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Ken, can you pick it up?
Thank you. This is a major issue, and it's one of my priorities. We need to improve our transportation and commuting in London. I'm an active cyclist. When I was younger, like others, had a young family, I cycled back and forth to work and back and forth to school when I was going to university. And so I believe it's important that we improve our bike lanes. I also believe it's important that we improve our transit. As a business owner, I have a challenge hiring people as I'm out at the Far East End, and it can add up to 3 hours in a day on a person's work day to get back and forth, and they don't even have to live across the other side of the city. So I think it's very important. We need to improve and set up direct routes or hubs. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Michael.
Thank you. So in terms of transit, Londoners were always clear on their must-haves, and that was access to the industrial areas, that was increased frequency, and more reliability, which means that the bus arrives on time and it doesn't pass you by because it's full. Now, of course, more bus shelters was also a priority. In terms of active transportation, we really need walkable neighborhoods. So that means mixed-use buildings with commercial on the bottom and apartments on the top, like we approved for the King Edward Plaza. It means allowing offices to be built outside of downtown and in neighborhoods so people can walk to work. It means speeding up the warranted sidewalk program so we can get more sidewalks out and making more connections to the Thames Valley Parkway for cyclists.
Thank you. Alrighty, so Oberon, you get to choose.
Okay.
Alrighty. This is another question about governance. It takes a majority of council to pass anything. You only get one vote. What one issue are you most passionate about, and what process would you use to convince the rest of council to support this issue? So Oberon, and then the people that will do rebuttal will be Ken, Jeanette, and Hadley in that order.
Can you repeat the question? Is one issue?
So it takes a majority of council to pass anything. You only get one vote. So what is the one issue you are most passionate about, and what process would you use to convince the rest of city council to support that issue?
If I had to pick one, I would say that we need to reallocate some of our funds to mental health and homelessness. And I think the best way to do that is to cut down on the police budget. I think that it's definitely the social service that's getting the most money every year, $219 million last year, I believe. And I think that cutting down on that budget won't increase crime. If anything, it'll draw crime. If we can get a stronger social service and better housing, that you'll see crime go down in general, and you'll see less homelessness, you'll have better access to mental health, and it will just be a more cohesive, better running city.
Thank you. Ken.
I found this a very tough question because I only get one vote. So there's affordable housing, there's homelessness, but I've talked about this before, and biking and commuting, it's very important to me. It's probably my most passionate issue. And I think Hamilton Road is very, very important to do something about Hamilton Road, an alternative road so that we can commute on. I believe we need better sidewalks for getting back and forth. And I think we need, for the Hamilton Road or East London, we need an accelerated time frame for road improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette.
Okay, one that I can actually answer. So my top priority is we need a new facility for London, Ontario. EMDC London, who houses an overcrowded jail, has promised money to put back into EMDC London, whether that be to renovate the building or to expand it. There's money there on that part of the government. But how does London raise money? Everyone can promise housing and a facility and all this. Where does the money come from? You can't cut anymore. People are already struggling. My plan is to incorporate EMDC London, put our inmates to work. They can come out on a work release program supported by EMDC, City of London, all acts of government. Get them out here to help our struggling and get the drugs off the street, help with mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hadley.
I think for me, the number one issue, and it's not just Ward 1, this impacts all of us. It's in London, it's in the province, it's in all of Canada, it's housing. And it's a domino effect. It really impacts everything else we've been talking about tonight. And one of the things that strikes me, every person I've talked to at some point or another has mentioned something about housing. And we were at a housing discussion last night at Glencairn, and what really struck me about that is that people are on the edge, that they're at the end of their rope. People will become homeless if we don't act now. And I really want Londoners to get loud on this issue because it's going to impact all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ken, your draw. This is a belonging question in a different direction. The current City Council was the first in the country to add in a pillar to the city's strategic plan that specifically focused on making London a safer place for women and girls. How will you, as a City Councillor, work to ensure this important pillar is executed? With record numbers of femicides in Canada, what are the opportunities you see available to address gender-based violence by the City of London? And our first speaker is Ken, followed by Michael, Ryan, and Oberon.
And they forgot trans women in the list.
Thank you. Noted.
You
Yep.
said women.
Thank you. And this is good learning for how questions are articulated, and I thank you for raising it.
Transgender is very important.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to talk to the trustees later about that.
Okay, good. Thank you. So trans women included. So that's noted. As organizers, we're taking that in. So Ken, if you can start us off.
Again, this is something that should not be tolerated. It's not acceptable. We're in 2022. I mean, times have changed, and we need important issues like this looked at. The new City Council needs to continue this pillar and work to make London a safer place for women, girls, transgender. The goal of Safe Cities initiative to empower women and girls to create safer communities by identifying strategies for preventing and responding to violence. We will need to ensure creating a safe community for women and girls remains a standalone pillar in Council forthcoming strategic plan. Safe Cities London is committed to making London a safe city where women, girls, and survivors access public spaces and participate in public life without fear or experience of sexual violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you. A few years ago, I wasn't sure if we were doing enough for this pillar, and I went down to the London Abused Women's Centre to ask, and they thought we were well on track. Some of the things that we're doing most recently is, as I pointed out before, the anti-racism and anti-oppression framework. And the thing about this framework is it means that we will look at all groups, LGBT, Black communities, Indigenous, and I can list a number, but women and girls here are always going to be considered when we're making decision. I personally believe that we need to educate young men. A boy who sees his mother abused is 10 times as likely to abuse his female partner as an adult. So we need to let those young men know these generational patterns are at play, so they can be counteracted. And of course, there's trafficking that needs to be addressed as well.
Thank you. Ryan?
As the father of a young daughter, this topic is an extremely sensitive one to me, and not one that can be taken lightly. Creating a safe London for women and girls and trans people is paramount to creating an inclusive city. Including women and girls and trans in policy making and decision making that affects them is a great first step, especially women with lived experiences. I think increased hours of operation for our transit system is needed to ensure all women can safely travel our city. Also, being closer to the border, we need to do more to recognize London as a sex trafficking hub and take more action towards finding sustainable solutions.
And Oberon, if you can continue.
I think definitely I would agree that we need to be spending more money and resources on women's shelters, absolutely, across the city. I think we need to definitely educate people on trans women. What happened with the trans woman who had to flee the city after the police dead-named her and raided her place is just a disgrace. And third, I think especially in this ward, I think it's finally time in 2022 we decriminalize prostitution. It's not going anywhere. It's always going to be here. We shouldn't punish it and keep it in the dark because it only endangers women.
Thank you. All right. right, so you've all had the opportunity to draw one of the prepared questions, so I'm now going to shift us over to some of the questions that were received. When some of you registered, you actually submitted questions, so I'm going to use those ones. To be transparent, I'm going to pull questions on topics that we haven't heard people talk about yet, so just to give a little bit of variety. So the next person up, or the person to go next, we're going to again repeat our order. So Hadley, you will be starting. Rebuttal. I'll tell you rebuttal when I tell you, and when I get to tell you the question. It's like somebody's calling with the rebuttal list right now. This is a question, and again, I'm going to assume this is a question from Sharon, and it says, how would the city retain new talent? And so we will start this one with Hadley, and then it'll be Jeanette, Michael, and Ryan.
Well, I think with retaining new talent, one of the things that's top of mind is affordability. I mean, London's not going to be an attractive city if people can't afford to live here, and students are already having a hard time paying their bills as it is. So I think that that's going to be a big factor in why people stay here. I mean, jobs is also the other one that comes to mind. We do have to attract employers for people to be able to find well-paying jobs after they've graduated. And not just, I'm not talking about just new grads, just newcomers in general. And I would also say this speaks to our transit as well. Having an effective transit system allows people to get around, and that includes buses, cycling lanes. We want the city to be somewhere where people talk about it and want to actually move here and have a life. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette.
So 40,000 Western students. How do we get them to stay after they've used our city to party in for $256,000 last year? At this point, who wants to stay in London, Ontario? But where else is there to go? Because everybody is feeling the pressures, the stress, the violence, the mental health. There's no entertainment. There's sexual assaults. People can't afford to live here. I wouldn't want to stay here either. How do you retain the business? You need to build on the city. You need to help small business owners. You need to put entertainment back into our city, please. Because after they're done partying downtown and running their FOCO party and their homecoming parties, they leave. They leave us with a bill. They leave us with skyrocketing ER visits over the weekend. And we need them to stay, to be an asset to our community, and use their education for purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, if you can follow up.
Thank you. So to retain these people, they need to have a job, they need a place to live, and they need to think that London is a desirable place to be. Some of the things we can do are advertise our job vacancy projections, promote co-op programs, get students involved in the community before they graduate, maybe as volunteers. One of my platform pieces is to make London the best place to be a volunteer. We need to build housing and build it faster, provide recreational amenities, and solve problems like homelessness that might make them think London is not a desirable place to be.
Thank you. Ryan, if you can take it up, please.
A lot of studies have shown, well, obviously a good base salary helps retain and attract people. Also, municipalities that can offer a great career progression also show a great job of retaining students. We need to look at not only incentivizing companies who hire university graduates, but also provide them with a clear career progression. We also, as a city, need to focus on attracting businesses that offer knowledge-intensive employment that gear towards our graduates' degrees and offer competitive salaries in competition with rising inflation. Also, we have a direct need for police staff, and our college offers a policing course. We should be making arrangements with these colleges to find a way to incentivize them for adding employees to our workforce. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question I'm going to ask, and the person who will lead us off is going to be Michael. And The rebuttal order will be Oberon, Ken, and Hadley. The question this time is around tourism. And this is a question from Sharon, and it says, what can London do better in terms of tourism? Michael, can you start us?
Well, thank you very much. And I think we need to promote the great things that we have a little better. And I'd point to the Doors Open tour that happened here in along Hamilton Road. We had a bus tour, and in that tour, we looked at the artwork, but connected people to the history. London has a tremendous history that people would love to find out about. In terms of tourism as well, the film industry is a big deal. By getting people to see this city in films and movies, they'll want to come here and visit. So those are two things, but it's also making wise investments with our municipal the accommodation tax that we charge, an extra 4% for staying in bed and breakfasts or hotels. So we have that money to spend wisely to bring tourism to London.
Thank you. All right, Oberon.
I think we have a lot of great existing festivals like Sunfest, Ribfest. I think if these were maybe advertised at a greater level on media, social media, and in the press, that would be great. I think a lot of our parks could use funding. Storybook Gardens is a wonderful place that could use some kind of a facelift. I've been there recently, and I know that it's always been an amazing park, but it could use a bit more funding. I'm glad to see the old Kellogg building getting a lot of new places in that. So I think that's a wonderful start. Basically, that's all I have to say on that issue.
Thank you. Ken.
So I think I agree with Oberon on this, and I have the same things, the festivals. We have the Budweiser Gardens. We have the Convention Center. We have the old Kellogg's building that they're turning into a hotel with what they have. I think now we need to advertise our city is a great city to go to. Anybody watches TV sees other cities and in the States, they see it advertised all the time. We need to attract people to London. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hadley.
I think with tourism, one of the things we've spoken of, like the existing festivals, and I do think that they're doing a good job. Something like Sunfest is obviously a big draw for people, and I think we need to encourage more of that. I'd like to see more diversity in terms of our tourism, celebrating the diversity of our population, but also even the diversity of the city itself, and not just having everything in the core, but having more tourist events in the different wards, so we can actually spread out those tourist dollars and we can all benefit from that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This question is specifically around the homelessness crisis. And this question will start off with Jeanette, and then it will be Ryan, Oberon, and Ken. Specifically, what is the candidates' plans for dealing with the homelessness crisis here in London? Try and be as specific as you can. And questions from Petra. Jeanette?
Hi, Petra. Thank you for your question. Homelessness is a big issue, isn't it?
It is.
It's very sad.
We're losing business because businesses don't want to locate downtown.
Okay, thanks.
I agree.
Yeah.
So how we need to look at homelessness is look at the huge issue here. The cost to build something is outrageous. Property is sitting vacant, not making any money. Big builders are raking in on people's misfortunes. What is the how behind this? Again, I've stated, I want to incorporate East Middlesex Detention Center of over 450 people, interview some of the good guys in there, have EMDC approve it, get those guys out working, building, cutting labor costs here in London, Ontario, and getting people some houses, because this city is gross. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan.
I see the National Housing Plan as a great start, but to battle against homelessness. I believe the municipal government could help by using municipal-owned land to build either emergency facilities and supportive housing, or look at selling that land to nonprofit organizations at a discount that will use the land for those purposes, or for creating low-cost housing. During the pandemic, the temporary use of facilities such as community centers and arenas were used to help support the homeless, but I think we need a long-term strategy. We also need to look at creating fair labor market conditions and municipal tax breaks for young renters and homeowners to ensure they're not forced into homelessness in the future.
Thank you. Oberon?
I think obviously housing has a lot to do with it, the cost of living. There's obviously, the root causes of homelessness are many. I think that just being a Canadian citizen, we have so much at our fingertips when it comes to financial aid and programs and services, but the problem is knowing how to access it. I admit I'm not a tech person. Like when I got COVID and had to get my CERB, I had to get my wife to help me with the app. But I think like if I have problems with that, the people who are out on the street who are struggling, who have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, they need help accessing that help. And I think that the best thing would be to have social workers do more outreach. Go to the people on the street, show them this is where you go for shelter, this is where you go for food, this is how you access this service and that service, and that would be a good start.
But those services aren't there.
Thank you.
They're already available.
Thank you. Sorry, we're going to keep going in order. Ken, if you can pick it up, please.
So the city needs to work on housing stability. We need to make sure that we address the homeless, not only in our city, but not having homeless sent to London from other communities. And we know that happens. We need to work with all levels of government to make sure that the homeless situation is addressed as a priority. We need to support London and Middlesex housing redevelopment and expansion. And we need to work with nonprofit organizations such as Mission Service and other organizations and see what they need to address the homeless crisis. I think we all need to work together on this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just want to reinforce, some of you may have the desire to talk to the candidates after and really go deeper on any of these issues, and they will be staying, so I just want to reinforce that as well, so thank you. Okay, so the next person who will lead off with is going to be Ryan, and our three that will follow will be Hadley, Michael, and Jeanette. And this is a question, where did it go? Here we are. A question from Cheryl. And this is specifically, what are your first 3 top priorities for Ward 1 in the next 4 years? So specific to this ward.
That's a great question. I'll name the 3 right off the bat: our police services, our transit services, and our active transportation services. Our police services do not have the resources to do the job they need to adequately. They're doing the best with the circumstances, but the truth is that they're understaffed and they need help. They can't canvass neighborhoods, they can't do many ride programs, and they can't set up speed traps because they don't have the resources, and criminals know this and exploit it. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their neighborhood, and no more needs to be done because I don't think people feel safe currently. Our transit services need to be more accessible, especially at night. Women, youth, and trans should not be made to walk home after their shift at night because we cannot offer them a transit system that meets their needs. Our active transportation right now is a mess. Some of the recent bike lanes that have gone up are quite frankly embarrassing. I'm fully supportive of active transit system and bike lanes specifically, but it must be done with more logical sense than we've seen recently. Thank you.
Thank you. Hadley.
Like I said before, I think one of my top priorities is obviously housing. And the second one actually feeds into that, and it's bylaw enforcement. And one of the things I see, which is pretty disgusting, is you see these slumlords who are forcing people out, and the city is not putting the money into bylaw enforcement. We need to go after these people. We can raise money this way as well. And right now, our bylaw enforcement is just underutilized, and I'd like to see that changed. And my third thing is infrastructure, which feeds into the transit that we've been talking about all night as well. Those would be my top 3 priorities. Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. So the first one is investment in the East End, and I've got a business case coming to the next budget update to bring funding for the Hamilton Road BIA to help with this area. Part of that money ties into my next priority, which is crime. So that will allow us to hire companies to do patrolling around here, and they can contact the police when when they see something. I plan to try to get on the police board this year and see that we can offload some activities that the police don't need to be doing so they can focus more on crime. And the last thing is, of course, homelessness. And my big plan here is to take some of the money that developers have promised in terms of these 50-year long-term commitments for 20% off of market rent and get that money up front so that we can give it to the companies and the developers that create supportive housing projects like the ones we're seeing.
Thank you so much. And Jeanette, if you can follow.
So I need to start with food security. We have a lot of vacant land, a lot of schoolyards that we could put community gardens in. Our students can help. They can learn to put back into the community and help feed families. When I walked into No Frills down at Hamilton and Highbury and seen a security guard at the front door, I knew this city had hit a low. People are out there stealing food to feed their families.
That's right.
I couldn't believe it. So number one, food security. Children need to eat, snacks need to be in schools, drinks need to be in schools, families need the support. Number two, get people off the streets. I am sick of seeing people sleeping downtown on the brand new brick road that we built. I am sick of seeing people, women, sleeping in front of the safe space in London, right in front of the front door. And that door is locked, and there's women that sleep right in front of there because that's where they feel safe. I have a red card. I didn't even finish. Sorry, everyone.
Okay. Passion expands.
Passion is here.
Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm going to now invite some questions from the audience. And so I want to, we'll maybe do about 2 or 3. I also want to give the candidates an opportunity to do their closing remarks. So does anybody in the audience have a question? And you're Petra? Yeah? Mm-hmm. So Petra, and just be really clear, like if you can bottom line and get clear on the question.
Really great.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I need, we need it. Could you come over and talk into the mic, please?
Hi, my name's Petra. I'm entertainment director for Pride London. I know what it's like to work as a team on a board of directors. We all see things differently, and we have to make alliances, forge relationships to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. I want to know, I don't want somebody in city council representing me that has oppositional disorder. Like, you know, somebody that's just going to go, no, 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 no. It's got to be one way. I want somebody to work as a team with the other councillors. I want to know if everybody is committed to being on a team.
Thank you. Thank you. So the person that will lead us off is Oberon, and then followed by Ken, Jeanette, and Hadley.
Yes, I think City Council should definitely work as a team. I think we should work as a team at all levels. It's been a very kind of divided City Council recently, and I think that's a shame. I think that the mayor, the trustees, everyone on council, even though they may have their differences, they need to come together on kind of bipartisan issues as much as they can.
Thank you. Ken?
Thank you, Petra, for the question. I agree. I mean, council has to work together. I mean, we need to work. We all have different areas in the city. Everybody's needs, every ward's needs are different. But as council, we need to work together to solve all our needs. I've been lucky over the years to sit on a fair number of nonprofit boards, and I've seen ones that work very well and seen ones that don't work very well. The ones who work for collaborative ideas work very well. The ones who work for agendas or their own agendas don't work very well. So on council, I think we all need to work towards the betterment of London, as well as our wards. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette?
Thank you. Teamwork is one of my favorite words. I am a small business owner and I push teamwork every single day. If you don't have a team, you have nothing. On a team, everybody possesses different leadership skills and traits that they possess. If everybody had strength in just one area, other areas would lack. So if you bring together true leadership, true teamwork, maybe we can finally get this done, and our city and Ward 1 will be a little bit safer of a place if we all work together and listen to everyone in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Hadley.
No, I agree with what's been said in terms of we do need to work as a team, all of council. We all represent our respective wards, and we bring unique perspectives to the table. But I do think that part of that teamwork is you do have to be a hard negotiator as well to ensure that your ward isn't forgotten. And unfortunately, I think that oftentimes Ward 1 and the East in general is left behind because we need strong voices on council to negotiate in good faith that the residents here will actually get something out of City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, another question. I think there was somebody right here, yes. And so can you come up to speak? And again, as clear and precise a question as possible is really helpful.
Hi, my name's Tia. My question is about the transit in the city. So lots of people have been saying that cycling would be a great alternative to buses, cars, such, but no one has said how they would make cycling safe. You can put as many bike lanes as you want. If the drivers don't respect sharing the road with cyclists, no one will do it. So, as councillors, what would you do to improve safety conditions for alternative transit?
Thank you. So Ken, you'll start us off, and then that will follow by Michael, Oberon, and Ryan.
That's a great question. Not only cycling, but transit as well. I mean, we've put the bike racks on the front of transit so that you can get a bus and still take your bike for rainy days when it may not be safe to ride. You can use your bike if you're doing a transfer, so you don't have to wait that extra time. Putting in the bike lanes is going to help. I've ridden in a lot of cities with the bike lanes, putting up the signs, share the road, making sure we educate the people is going to help, and you will feel safe. I've cycled in many cities that have the bike lanes and felt safe and had cars pass with respectable distance. So I believe we can do it. We just have to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you. So safety is very important, and we have many people who prefer the Thames Valley Parkway as a safe place to travel. So I think we need more connections to that so people can get on that and expand that, because we've done a great job of that. You can travel very, very far in the city and feel safe. I think that there's opportunities for us to put in these multi-use pathways in place of sidewalks in many places, because that allows that dual function, and especially over long distances. We were planning the Bradley extension, and where there's resources, instead of having the cyclists close to the road, I think those multi-use pathways are excellent. In long stretches, you're not going to see a lot of pedestrians on it, and so the cyclists will get to use those.
Thank you so much. And Oberon?
I think that we definitely need more awareness about bikers. That would be a start, whether that be signs or whatever. But I mean, you go to a bigger city like Toronto or Montreal, and it's actually safer to bike on the street because people are respecting the cyclists and people are expecting to see them. I believe in curved bike lanes, or at least painted bike lanes, so that they're visible. And as unpopular as it may seem, I believe that we need to enforce our bylaws and actually ticket people who bike on the sidewalk, because it's just people now feel entitled to bike on the sidewalk, and I don't blame them because it is unsafe on the street. But cars now think, well, you're supposed to be on the sidewalk, so they don't look for people on the street. So I think that would be a start.
Thank you. Ryan?
I think the recent bike lane infrastructure that has been built is actually quite dangerous for bikers and drivers alike. I would like to see the municipality adopt combining the pedestrian sidewalk with bike lanes, as well as adding more bike lane infrastructure throughout the city to make it a more accessible place to travel. I also believe that road safety, as far as drivers concerned, begin as inception. So including road safety right in the driver's course in G1, G2, and G courses is paramount to making sure that everybody understands what their expectations are once they hit the road.
Thank you. Given our timing, I'm going to use one of the audience questions that was submitted, and all candidates will answer because it's your summative one. It will play well to doing a good summation. We'll do it in the original order of draw. So the question is, what makes you the ideal candidate for Ward 1? You all have 1 minute to answer this, and we will be starting with Hadley.
I think what sets me apart is I care very deeply for this community, and I do think that what drove me to run really was that I do think that Ward 1 has been forgotten. I look around the city and I see parts of the city that have so much more than this area, and I just think it's absolute tragedy that we don't have more. And I think that I'm well equipped to lead the charge to actually get things done in council for Ward 1. I've got many years of political experience dealing with different levels of government. I have a background to support the financing that we need to really fight for to get things done over here. And so I do think that I am the best person for the job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael.
Thank you very much. Well, I certainly have experience as your Ward 1 councillor, and I quit my teaching job so I could do this full time. This is a part-time job usually, and I have made that commitment. I attend every committee meeting of every committee in order to make sure that you have a voice. There's a tremendous number of motions that I have brought forward and pushed past the finish line. There's a lot of work that's on its way. We've got one term left to finish the goals of the community improvement plan for Hamilton Road and other initiatives, and I'm working on those. I push hard. I'm very vocal at our city council. I've gotten many results, and I hope you'll support me again because I will get more results for you this coming term too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jeanette.
So I can sit here and tell you all that I would be the right choice for Ward 1. But really, I have not put the time and effort into actually knowing my competition. Because I'm out there, I'm being present in the community. Like I said, I own a cleaning company, so I do scrub toilets every single day. And while I'm doing that, I'm thinking outside the box. What are different ways that I can get people off the street, get food in their mouths, help our children know their self-worth, build a plan for this city. I'm out there. I am talking to the struggling community. I may not be going door to door asking for votes because I don't have time. I'm out feeding people down at the Mission, people that are sex workers on the streets. I'm out helping them. I help people that are in motels drive them food for their children that struggle every single day. I am there for free right now. Imagine what I do with a paycheck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ryan.
Since I've moved to London, I've heard talk about London becoming a more inclusive and safe place to live. However, every time I look on social media or talk to a neighbor, there's another story about a car being broken into, a garage being broken into, a house being broken into, somebody being hit and run, somebody on a bike who's almost hit because somebody's not following the rules. We haven't made it safe. We haven't made it inclusive. Our transit's not accessible. Our active transportation system is a mess. People cannot cycle safely around our city, and yet we expect to complete a climate goal by 2050. I'm different because I'm one of you. I know what it feels like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it feels like when you're not being listened to, when you're not being heard. That needs to change, and it can change today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Oberon?
I think what sets me apart, I think my background in healthcare, community healthcare specifically, I've worked with people from all walks of life in London. I've been in their homes, I've listened to what they're struggling with. I think that being a representative of my union gives me some leadership experience. Like Ryan was saying, I've been working class all my life. I've worked in the food industry, construction, and healthcare for the last 14 years. And yes, I know what it's like to put gas in my car and not know if I'm going to have enough left over for groceries. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. So I would always represent the working class. I'm proud of London. I'm proud of my ward, and I think we all are, or we wouldn't be here.
Thank you. And Ken, final words.
I agree with Hadley that this last term, I think we were missing out on representation in our ward. I also agree the crime in the ward, it needs to be looked after. We need to help, look into the police budgets. I'm a business owner. I'm an accountant. Financially, I would really watch what we spend. There's room in our budgets to reduce our city taxes, and we can still obtain the same results. Ward 1 gets left out on a lot of decisions, and I think I would be there to work for you so that Ward 1 is represented very well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to wind down the formal part of this, and so there is going to be an opportunity for all of you to now stay. And the candidates, I'm hoping you will all be able to stay and talk and answer questions one-on-one with people. Some of you may have very specific questions for particular candidates. This is your chance to do that. I do want to formally, on behalf of Urban League of London, thank you candidates for the preparation, respecting process, the clarity of your answers, and also standing to be elected. This is what makes communities work, is when people believe and they want to stand and represent you, the citizens of Ward 1. So I just want to acknowledge and thank all of you for doing that. For all of you that are here tonight, thank you for coming out. You can be the ripple. Whatever you've learned tonight, please share the information. Encourage your friends, colleagues, neighbors to vote. And so remember, October 24th is the election day. And again, please spread the word. If you particularly were, enamored by somebody and you want to spread the word, this is your chance. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Hello, my name's Julie Reynolds. I've lived in Ward 1 for almost 30 years now, and I own a payroll and bookkeeping business that's on its 10th year. I've been involved in various industries over the years, from logistics to culinary. I've been an educator, a mentor, and I've helped build multiple businesses. I've also been involved with a number of nonprofits on projects like Child Find and the Special Olympics, in addition to being publicly recognized for my fundraising efforts on behalf of the United Way. I believe that my experience, paired with my empathy, make me uniquely suited to be a councillor for this ward. I'm running for council because I've seen firsthand what an amazing community of people we have here, and I know what we can be if provided with the proper support and consideration from City Council. I'm running because I love my neighborhood and I want to fight for us. Every candidate should be focused on housing and transportation, but in addition to those issues, my top 3 focuses are going to be first, the safety, maintenance, and improvement of all of our travelways and public spaces. This includes upkeep of roads and pathways, additional lighting, additional crosswalks, and seating areas for our walkable communities. Second is increasing community resources. This includes a recreation center, repairing Glencairn Pool, and providing water sources to all of the parks, people and pet, throughout the city. Third, I'd like to focus on increasing accountability and oversight for City Council, while at the same time increasing communication between elected officials and the public. I've provided detailed answers to all of the questions provided by the Urban League, and I've posted those up on my Facebook page. I look forward to speaking to everybody within the ward. Please reach out if you have any questions, concerns, or just want to chat. I look forward to serving our community and working with you to make this a great place. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., it's the Rtv Quiz. Giovanni Petiti hosts a weekly trivia competition that lets you play from the comfort of your couch. Play along at home and challenge your friends. And don't forget to follow along on social media. Let us know who's top of trivia, and you can find yourself featured on a future episode.
Are you kidding me, folks?
The Rtv Quiz, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. on Rogers TV or at rogerstv.com/RTV Quiz.
You're watching Rogers TV. Welcome everyone to the Week in Fanshawe Esports. My name is Tyler Hetherington, Esports Director within the Fanshawe Student Union. I go by the online gamer tag of Relit, and I'm glad to be here today to bring you the week that was in Fanshawe esports. Our Fuel program, which originally stood for Fanshawe Ultimate Esports League, started off as a weekly LAN event and has grown into the full-fledged program that it is today. We have a thriving community of gamers on campus competing in competitive collegiate esports across 14 different game titles and over 20 teams currently in competition. We play other collegiate teams from all across North America on any given night. We can have matches against the St. Clair Saints in Windsor, Keanu Huskies in Fort Mac, to competitions against D1 programs in the states like Boise State or Michigan. Fuel is presented by the Fanshawe Student Union, and all gamers on campus unite no matter their race, gender, background, or identity within our esports program. In addition to the high-level competition, our program focuses strongly on in-person and online tournaments, casual game nights, watch parties, and just an all-accepting community supporting every gamer on campus. This week, some of our teams started league matches, which will be featured on the show